As Nigel Dean reports.
Bournemouth looked to be in trouble at St Andrews when Dennis Bailey put Birmingham in front, but the effort was disallowed. Then Luther Blissett, the Cherries' former England player, punished a mistake to give his side an impressive win against one of the most highly rated teams in the third division.
Fans pouring into Dean Court were desperately hoping for a season which would take them straight back to Division 2. Reading the programme was to be the only glimpse they were to get of manager Harry Redknapp. He was at home recovering from the car crash in Italy in which the club's long-standing managing director Brian Tyler died. There was a minute's silence before kick-off for the well-liked and respected member of the club. Once the action started, it didn't take long for Bournemouth to give Harry something to cheer about. Bury, who made the promotion playoffs last season, were unable to clear the danger. Luther Blissett's perfect ball control set up Sean O'Driscoll, who slotted the ball home. Bournemouth were firmly in control. Moments later, Trevor Aylott unable to make this header count. One Redknapp who did put in an appearance on the day was young Jamie. Liverpool is said to be watching him. He came on as sub for the injured Kevin Bond, just in time to see his side escape as David Lee's shot eventually found the safe hands of Peter Guthrie. But the equaliser did come 3 minutes into the second half. Tony Cunningham turned neatly in the box, avoided some flying tackles and put the ball in the net. Bournemouth never recovered, and that's the way it stayed to the end. Bournemouth won, Bury won.
It was sort of a nothing game in the second half. There was no crowd atmosphere as well. I thought I was sitting in church a couple of times. It's a vicious circle. We weren't giving them a lot to cheer about, and they weren't cheering, you know. So no, it was a disappointing second half for our first home game. But we've got the players. We've got the players, obviously, I think, to get us out of this division. But we've got to put on better performances than we did today.
But off the line. Then, just before half-time, Luther Blissett got Bournemouth's first goal on the night and his second in the tie. Just before the end, Sean O'Driscoll's handball in the box gave Greg Downs the chance to level the score from the penalty spot, but it wasn't enough. Bournemouth won, Birmingham won, and Bournemouth go through 2-1 on aggregate.
Bournemouth are still seeking their first league win too. Luther Blissett looked to have put them on their way against Stoke with a penalty. But Derek Statham ended their hopes with an equaliser 6 minutes from time, one apiece. Sides still seeking their first win of the season. Meanwhile, Bournemouth have collected their first league success, as Nigel Dean reports.
Bournemouth went ahead against Bradford through Sean Teal, his first goal for the club. But the Yorkshire side opened up the Cherries' defence for Mark Leonard to equalise. In the second half, Luther Blissett restored Bournemouth's advantage from the penalty spot. And Bournemouth wrapped up victory through Gavin Oliver's embarrassing own goal. 3-1.
At Dean Court, Bournemouth had their chances against Millwall. Their best came when they were awarded a penalty for handball. But Luther Blissett's spot kick wasn't good enough. In the second half, Sean Teal headed in, but the effort was disallowed for offside. Goalkeeper Peter Guthrie kept Bournemouth's hopes alive with a fine last-minute save. 0-0 and a tough task ahead for the Cherries in London in 2 weeks' time.
I think it's going to be a very hard game for us. It'd been lovely to go there with a goal or possibly a 2-goal cushion. But we're still well in the tie. It's 0-0 tonight. If we can nick a goal early on, we can make a game of it up there.
Some good news, though, from the Bournemouth camp. Doctors are allowing manager Harry Redknapp to return to work. He was badly injured in a car crash in Italy during the World Cup. He plans to attend Bournemouth's match against Crewe in mid-October.
Bournemouth's second was a beauty, covering the full length of the field before Luther Blissett supplied a splendid finish. Bournemouth went on to win 3-0.
Bournemouth took the lead just before half-time following the first of several goal-keeping blunders. Reading's Phil Burns looked to have Denny Mundy's shot covered, but the ball slips underneath him. Bournemouth's keeper was also at fault for Reading's equaliser. Trevor Senior's headers deflected in with Peter Guthrie left stranded. Senior's fourth goal in 3 games. But worse was to follow for the Cherries' keeper. A tame strike by Craig Maskell goes through his hands. Reading leads 2-1. Bournemouth came back strong in the last 10 minutes. Only a great save by Burns to make amends for his earlier mistake gave Reading the 3 points. So the Royals have won their last 4 games, and the club's all-time leading scorer, Trevor Senior, notches up his 6th goal of the season.
It's not, of course not. I mean, he doesn't have to be told though. I mean, you know, he's gone to the near post for the first corner when he shouted for the ball, doesn't get it, and then he lets the ball go through his legs or through his hands. He knows he's made a mistake, but you know, he's done well for us up until now.
Southend may be newcomers to Division 3, but they've started with 8 wins from 9 matches. And they were ahead against Bournemouth after only 7 minutes. It was a young man from Berkshire who put the Essex team in charge against the club from Dorset. Number 11, Brett Angel, started the move and appeared to finish it. In fact, Angel's header hit number 4, David Martin, giving Bournemouth keeper Jerry Payton no chance. Bournemouth were at their best in the first half. Kevin Bond's long pass flicked on by Luther Blissett, and Ifan Ekuku fired the equaliser past Paul Sansom. A second league goal for Ekuku, who joined Bournemouth from Sutton United for £60,000. In the second half, Southend, who were thrashed 8-0 by Crystal Palace in the Rumbelows Cup, completely outclassed Bournemouth. Angel was at the heart of their match-winning move. Steve Tilson's centre, and Angel's header looped over Kevin Bond on the goal line. After 6 games without a goal, Angel enjoyed the moment. Bournemouth came within inches of snatching a draw, but Gavin Peacock's shot was only just too high. So a 2-1 victory for Southend. Their boss David Webb can celebrate with champagne after being named 3rd Division Manager of the Month.
Division continues. They've gone 4 matches unbeaten since manager Harry Redknapp returned from his sickbed. Their latest success was at home to Tranmere. Nigel Dean reports.
Bournemouth couldn't have wished for a better start. New signing Andy Jones with a goal in 74 seconds of his home debut. Tranmere had the ball in the net through Chris Malkin after 22 minutes, but referee Ray Lewis ruled out the effort for offside. In the second half, Sean O'Driscoll's shot brought the best out of Eric Nixon, but that early goal was good enough. Bournemouth 1, Tranmere 0.
Bournemouth played host to Shrewsbury at Dean Court, and it was the visitors who went ahead after 18 minutes. Tommy Lynch, the scorer. But 2 minutes later, Luther Blissett equalised his 8th goal of the season. Gavin Peacock then scored the first of his 2 goals, a fiercely driven shot to beat goalkeeper Ken Hughes. But the Cherry celebrations had hardly begun before Shrewsbury's Kevin Summerfield brought the scores level. But in the second half, watch for a spectacular overhead kick from Peacock to make the final score Bournemouth 3, Shrewsbury 2.
Bournemouth are making great strides in the 3rd Division. Gavin Peacock with their first against Rotherham. Then Luther Blissett tucked away a penalty for his 9th goal of the season. And in the second half, Andy Jones put Blissett in for number 3. Rotherham reduced the deficit through Bermudan international Sean Gota before Blissett completed his hat-trick with another penalty. Mark Scott hit a second for Rotherham. Bournemouth 4, Rotherham 2, and the Cherries now in 5th place.
And now to last night's action from the 3rd Division. And for Bournemouth manager Harry Redknapp, 1990 has been a year to forget. Hope springs eternal though, as Matt Tyler reports.
As a player, Harry Redknapp used to thrill the crowds at Upton Park, a big part of the famous West Ham team of the 60s. Now, 2 decades later, Redknapp is into his 8th season as manager of Bournemouth. His appetite for the game as strong as ever, despite a year that's been one long nightmare. First came the match that saw Bournemouth relegated to the 3rd Division and Leeds supporters rioting in the normally quiet South Coast resort. Then, a month later, Redknapp and the club's former managing director Brian Tyler were involved in a serious car accident at the World Cup in Italy. Tyler was killed, Redknapp left seriously injured. Thankfully, his recovery is now almost complete. He's back in charge at Dean Court, and away from the rigours of football management, he co-owns a local restaurant. The Bournemouth players reckon their long unbeaten run owes much to their ritual pre-match Italian meals. It's a far cry, of course, from Redknapp's own playing days. When you had Jimmy Greaves alongside you, game preparations weren't quite the same.
I think it's a bit different. I think Greaves used to have his pre-match meal in the Slater's Arms at Chad Relief, you know. Those were good days, but no, it's very, very different.
Redknapp is obviously looking forward to the new year, but all the setbacks of 1990 have had a positive effect on team morale.
When he came back, we've all been thinking, it's nice to have him back, because he had such a brush with death, obviously. And it's really been good to have him back, because his sense of humour and everything is doing great, and it's rubbed off on everyone.
Yes, it's been a nightmare year all round, really. I can't really look back on this year with many happy memories at all, but that's life. There's lots of people who've had worse years than me, for sure, so you just got to keep getting on with life, and hopefully next year will be a better year for us.
Last night, Bournemouth were hoping to stretch their third division unbeaten run to 9 games. Because of medical advice, the manager was only allowed to watch from the grandstand. There was a Redknapp presence on the bench, though, for the home game against Swansea. 17-year-old son Jamie, a player tipped for a top first division career, one of the substitutes. With sub-zero temperatures, the match was hardly a classic. In the end, a 29th minute penalty settled it. Blissett's cross handled by Mark Harris. The linesman spotted it, and Blissett took his season's tally to 12 with a powerful shot past Bracey. Chances were as rare as warm feet. The nearest to another goal came from new boy Wayne Faraday's cross, Coleman failing to clear, Matt Holmes crashing the ball onto the bar. For Swansea, the best opportunity fell to lively striker Terry Connor near the end, a header that summed up their night and the game as a whole.
No, it wasn't a classic, Mark, but it was 3 points, and it was important for us to keep. It put us into third place, so if all the games were called off tomorrow, we'll stay third tomorrow night, which will be handy.
But no mistakes from Luther Blissett. No, great from the penalty spot,
he scored a few this year, and that was good to see him sticking up on him. So it was a vital, as I say, a vital 3 points, but certainly not a classic.
In fact, he's got half his 12 goals this season from the penalty spot, hasn't he?
He has, yes. I offered him a bonus at the start of the year, actually. I said I'll give him £100 if he scored 20 league goals this year, and he's on his way. He's going well, so I'm going to have to take him off the penalties.
He's retained his sense of humour anyway.
Dear old Harry. I'll tell you what, I mean, he's had such a bad year, and he has got one of the better teams in the third division, and I hope it does go well for him. I mean, he's a great lad. I mean, he talked about the old Slater's Arms there, old Jack the publican there. He used to leave the back door open for us. We all used to go around the back. Not in opening house, of course.
Dean Court, Bournemouth went a goal down to Leyton Orient when Steve Castle scored his 13th of the season. Within 6 minutes, Kenny Aitchempong had put the Londoners 2 up. Bournemouth, without a win over Christmas, got back in the game through Paul Miller. And it was another defender who saved a point. Sean Teal's shot hit the bar and bounced down over the line. Bournemouth 2, Leyton Orient 2.
Major Jamie Redknapp was formally signed by league champions Liverpool today for £350,000, and it ends months of speculation about his future.
Jamie had to be content to watch from the sidelines as Bournemouth stole the show at Bury. The Cherries took the lead after 6 minutes through Matthew Holmes. And it wasn't until the second half that Bury drew level, Liam Robinson taking advantage of some loose marking. Luther Blissett got his 49th league goal for the Cherries to put his side 2-1 ahead. But Robinson equalised again 2 minutes later. Then, 6 minutes from the end, George Lawrence headed Bournemouth in front for the third time. And Efan Akuku wrapped up the game when he found a way through. He watched the ball trickle over the line to make the final score Bury 2, Bournemouth 4.
Bournemouth is still the only third division club with an unbeaten home record following their latest win over Exeter.
Bournemouth got off to a terrible start. After just 45 seconds, Exeter were in front. Keeper Jerry Payton parried the initial shot, but the unlucky rebound was pounced on by Trevor Morgan. Bournemouth equalised 24 minutes later. Andy Jones the scorer. From then on, the Cherries controlled the match, and the winner came in the second half. Paul Morrell, the provider. Luther Blissett with the clinical finish. The former England striker's 50th league goal for Bournemouth.
Final score, Bournemouth 2, Exeter 1.
Well, in the third division, Bournemouth had a chance to move into the top half of the table with a home game against Birmingham, but things didn't quite work out. It was not a happy afternoon for Bournemouth. They went a goal down just before half-time when hesitation in defence allowed Simon Sturridge to score for Birmingham. But from this corner kick, Harry Redknapp's team equalised. Alec Watson's header, his first goal since arriving from Liverpool. Then, with 10 minutes left, Birmingham took the lead. Bournemouth number 12, Denny Mundy, conceding an unfortunate own goal. The final score at Dean Court, Bournemouth 1, Birmingham 2.
From the referee. With Stoke down to 10 men, the Cherries hit back. Andy Jones equalised. And Bournemouth went in front 16 minutes later. Substitute George Lawrence headed home. Bournemouth wrapped it up 6 minutes from time. A well-taken goal by Luther Blissett. Final score, Stoke City 1, Bournemouth 3.
Bournemouth looked to have taken the lead in the 32nd minute when Luther Blissett headed home a rebound. But referee Keith Burge disallowed the goal for a foul on the Chester keeper Billy Stewart. Just before the break, number 10 George Lawrence jinked through the Chester defence and brought a fine save from Stewart. In the second half, Matthew Holmes was brought down in the area by Graham Barrow. The tackle prompted an angry reaction from the Bournemouth team. And it all looked a little unpleasant until referee Burge awarded a penalty. Luther Blissett saw the opportunity to notch his 17th of the season. And he dispatched the kick in his usual style. A fitting 44th birthday present for manager Harry Redknapp. Final score, Bournemouth 1, Chester 0.
Southend.
Bournemouth conceded an early penalty at Swansea. Jerry Payton produced a brilliant stop, but couldn't prevent Jimmy Gilligan scoring from the rebound. The former Portsmouth striker lucky to get a second chance. But Bournemouth levelled in the second half when a Tony Pulis shot took a deflection to deceive the Swansea keeper. Denny Mundy gave Bournemouth a
Redknapp must be feeling pretty pleased with himself following his team's 2-0 win over third division rivals Reading. The Cherries have moved up into 6th place and are looking good for the promotion playoffs, but it's going to be an uphill struggle for Reading in 11th spot.
Reading dominated the first half and should have scored when a poor back pass from Wayne Faraday was pounced on by Steve Moran, but the former England under-21 striker wasted his chance. Bournemouth looked a different side after the interval. In the 53rd minute, a diving header was saved brilliantly by Steve Francis, only to fall to Andy Jones. And the Cherries made sure of victory 10 minutes from time. A powerful run by George Lawrence and a skillful finish from Welsh international Jones. Final score, Bournemouth 2, Reading 0.
As you would have expected. And history is made here tonight at the ground because Wendy Toms, a 28-year-old local girl from Canford Heath, becomes the first lady ever to be part of a Football League game. She is the reserve official, and should referee or any linesman have to go for any reason, she will officiate. So Reading in the yellow shirts and blue shorts will kick off, and Bournemouth will attack the Brighton beach end. The surface very greasy because there's been a lot of rain in Bournemouth today. But a good crowd here, and both hoping to build on victories at the weekend. Reading against Chambly, Bournemouth against Swansea. High into the night from Jerry Payton. Flick on is towards Mundy. Now Wayne Faraday comes in field. Takes the return ball, but it's skidded away from his shins. And Sean Teal plays a good ball forward to Paul Morell in a bit of space, and the first time cross intercepted by Richardson. And the first goal kick of the match. And you see there is a heavily sanded area. The ground staff here considerably worried because there's a reserve match here as well tomorrow. I'm rather concerned about that. And Martin Hicks, the Reading captain, with this free kick just inside his own half, and Reading with 5 men on the edge of Bournemouth's penalty area. It's going to fall down here for Steve Moran. It's going to be another free kick as well. So Reading being awarded the first 2 free kicks of the game, and this one will be floated in by Mick Gooding, experienced player, now with his 6th club in the Football League. They've got some big men up there, and it was a clear header. It went over the top, but Stuart Lovell got in there. And Lovell, a highly promising young player. They think very highly of him at Reading. Richardson did well there to feed the ball to Gooding, who's in again here now, Mike Gooding, and he's got a free kick, even though he'd wrestled himself away from Pulis. And most of the free kicks awarded by Mr. Don seem to be going Reading's way for the moment. Richardson seems to want to play it short. Either that or he's wasting a few seconds. Up towards the edge of the area, and Hicks, who's about 6'3", has gone in there. Moran picks out his man well this time. It was Maskell, he was unable to do anything with it, but the back pass is a dreadful one. Here's a great chance for Steve Moran. Round the first defender, he took a little bit too long, and the ball ends in the side netting. Well, Steve Moran has been sharper than that in his Leicester and Southampton days in particular. He was put in the clear by an awful back pass, and really should have added to the 8 goals he's got this season. He just attempted to do a little bit too much, and getting around the defender there, he just dallied too long. Gooding with it. Went straight over the defenders, and Gooding has another chance to play it in. And the free kick will be given against Reading, so they've wasted a really good opportunity. Harry Redknapp, nice to see him settled in his position here again at Dean Court. He missed so much, of course, of the early part of the season due to that horrific accident during the summer in Italy. Chase on here, with Mundy trying to get in behind Richardson. He uses all the experience of over 300 games, all of them for Reading, to put that ball out. Time for Wood to size the situation up. I'd have even thought of a shot then himself, but he's played a good ball in here. Morell's cross, it was a dangerous one, and good defending by McPherson. He got in there with Andy Jones coming in. Excellent work by the defence. Wood had played the pass. Morell with a rather flat cross, but what good work that was by the defender. Ferrady with Bournemouth's corner. There's no trouble at all in getting rid of that one. And Bailey plays the ball, and it's a good one as well for Maskell. And this time the good defensive work is done at the other end of the field by Sean O'Driscoll. Certainly neither side really gained the ascendancy yet. Nor will they, so long as they play the ball back there towards Jerry Payton. Now Bond will step forward. The Bournemouth crowd really wanting him to do something constructive with it. It's up there towards Mundy, and a bit of a slip by Richardson might have helped Wood here. Still 2 defenders with him, so he tries to get Morell moving. Bailey cuts out the cross. And here is Moran again. A tricky pass he contrived. Morel, that's a good one. Here's Andy Jones now to take on the defence by himself. The shot really coming to nothing. He felt there was no support, I'm sure, Andy Jones. So I thought he had to try something, but never got any strength behind it. The Bournemouth youngsters are hoping for a better performance than they got last week when the side was beaten here 3-0 by Wigan. They look happy enough for the moment. Great kick from Francis. It's dropping well inside Bournemouth's half. Somehow Morrow emerged with the ball and they've appealed for offside and it's not given, and Payton's in trouble here. It's put behind by Bond, but Jerry Payton again couldn't hold on to this greasy ball. Maskell had slipped it through, a whacking shot, and he just palmed it out. Swung in once more, but at least 3 Bournemouth men all went for it together. Gooding again. And again. And he's going to get a 4th attempt, believe it or not. No direction on the header eventually from McPherson. Jerry Payton is the busier of the 2 goalkeepers. Gooding working hard back here. That's a good little flick to Taylor. Moran's ball forward, it's to Maskell. That's an encouraging ball as well, and Craig Maskell here might attempt the shot. So another feeble one in the end. Again, Jerry Payton though has to make a save. Reading are finding ways through. Francis at the other end has barely touched the ball. Call into action any minute now though, because Denny Mundy steps forward for Bournemouth. He's got a man on his right. Going to have to do it all himself for the moment. Here's Paul Wood though, and a good effort from Wood at an angle. Wood hasn't scored this season, not for Sheffield United, not for Bournemouth, and he still hasn't, but that was a good try. The player on loan from Sheffield United had to go at full stretch to meet this one on the volley. Got the angle right, but couldn't keep it down. The best chance still was the one which fell early in the game to Steve Moran, who's on the ball now. And the angles across and Gooding heads it back, and they spread it wide to Morrow. They are coming forward much more impressively, Reading, at the moment. This time it's in, and it's a bit flat, and it was allowed to run through by the entire defence, and if Maskell had got a touch there, Payton wouldn't have stood a hope. And he's very angry with the men in front of him, not surprisingly either. Here's the cross, about to come in now, and the ball skids in low. It's left by everybody, and if Maskell had got that touch, it had to be a goal. Is for Bailey. Not long now for either side to gain the initiative in this first half, but Bailey has done really well here. Cuts it back, and a good turn by Maskell, but Bournemouth managed to get it away as far as Richardson. His pass was not on the mark. He's got another chance. This is a better one. Gooding's header on, met by Taylor. Desperately away, thumped in again by Lovell, who now handles the ball in desperation. So we stay goalless. Straight up in the air, and that one snapped upon by Wood. But here's one. Maskell will go through the middle, and Payton has to come and has to clatter the ball out. Just beneath us here in our gantry position at Dean Court. Jerry Payton was taking aim. And half-time it is then at Dean Court. It's been a difficult half for Jerry Payton. He's certainly been the busier of the 2 goalkeepers. Steve Francis hardly troubled at the other end. The best chance of the half really fell to Steve Moran in the early minutes. He was unable to take it, and that is why the half-time score here is AFC Bournemouth 0, Reading 0. Welcome back to Dean Court. Bournemouth 0, Reading 0, and no doubt about the outstanding performer in that first half, Martin Hicks, the Reading centre-back. To be fair, Bournemouth have been playing into his hands by hitting long balls up the middle, and he's dealt so capably with everything. And one imagines Harry Redknapp will have given a half-time talk which featured on that and ways around it. Bournemouth simply have to adopt a different approach. Faraday. One up here for Mundy to chase. He's a really willing worker, and the ball has come down instead to Paul Wood, who has the pace to get past defenders and gets a bit of a toe-poke shot in. But Paul Wood has looked as likely as anybody to score tonight for Bournemouth. They've certainly had very few opportunities up front. Denny Mundy there, thrust into the striking role in the absence of Luther Blissett, who did score on Saturday, of course. Francis has had a generally easy night. Wood sliced off the boot of Richardson. Well, they've got something to shout about. Hasn't been much on the pitch so far, but they're keeping the larynxes going. They will cheer if Bournemouth get a goal. It's going to come back here for Pulis. That's a better pass. Now there's a chance maybe. Morel, the good ball in. What a fine save, but it's driven into the net by Andy Jones. Bournemouth score. The fans salute. And 5 minutes of consistent pressure is rewarded. But it's strange how the game has changed. Pulis here supplied the important pass. Paul Morel had stayed up there, whipped the ball across. The flying header kept out by Francis, but belted gleefully into the net by Andy Jones. So 8 minutes into the second half, it becomes Bournemouth 1, Reading 0, and now we might have a game on our hands. We've just been saying those spectators had had little to cheer, but Jones arrived on cue. And here we see it once more. That was the really important pass. That bisected the defence. In it came here. It was a good header, but Francis made a brave save, but he couldn't stop Jones. So great disappointment for Steve Francis. It's virtually the first save he'd had to make in the game. At the other end, that will be a goal. He made the first save and couldn't make the second. So the Reading supporters not at all happy. The first half was played almost entirely in Bournemouth's half, and Reading certainly looked the likely to score. How strange it is it should turn out the other way. Typical of football, that. Some of the Bournemouth supporters have been disgruntled with recent performances here, but Harry Redknapp, second from the left there in your picture, must feel a mightily relieved man, because they didn't put much together in the first half, but they're in the lead and that's all that matters. Driscoll almost got there. Bailey denied him and plays a great ball. That was unlucky really for Maskell. I don't think Sean Teal knew much about it. Hit him on the back of the neck. And now straight at the other end, McPherson, he's let it go through and it's got to be 2-0. How on earth isn't it 2-0? Francis goes into the back of the net and that's where the ball should have been. What an escape this one is for Reading. Keith McPherson allowing the ball to drop over him. Andy Jones simply had to score, you felt, but he rolled it the wrong side of the upright. Well, he's got one, and even he will agree he should have had two. That might have been a game clincher. Instead of which, at the other end, it's Teal who has to get under one. Total miskick. imagine that miss by Andy Jones will give Reading more heart, but they've got to defend once more. Hicks will surely stretch those long legs of his, brings down the player. Well, they brought down Denny Mundy then, who was not quite goal side of him, and I think this will be a yellow card for Martin Hicks. He was almost caught out. He's a big fellow, is Martin Hicks, and he stretched and gets the yellow card as a result. Mundy there in danger of getting away from him. It's regarded as a professional foul, but I think the yellow card was right in that instance. And this season of increased punishments, who knows what happens sometimes. But Bournemouth have the free kick. They need a second goal to settle themselves. It was out by Lovell, and Moran took his time. It wasn't a shot, it was a ricochet. Hicks and Bailey, that's just going to be beyond masking though. Bournemouth should beware that Reading came from behind at Southend to win recently. They were 1 down then and 1-2-1 with this man Bailey there scoring one of the goals. And Bournemouth are to make a change, and they will bring on George Lawrence. Floated in and belted out. So with 10 minutes to go, it's still Bournemouth 1, Reading 0. The game is being played exclusively on that far side of the field at the moment. Succession of throw-ins. Gary Brook has hardly contributed as yet. He hasn't had the ball. It's another throw-in. Well, at least the spectators on that side are getting a good view of it. Switch it left, Bailey. Down here beneath us is Steve Morrow. Through the middle it was aimed for Moran. Oh, and Lawrence has done well, and for once Hicks is drawn out of position. Lawrence on his own, George Lawrence slips it through now. Andy Jones, great shot, great goal. 2-0 Bournemouth. 2 for Andy Jones, and Reading might be beaten now. That's a quality strike. George Lawrence. Martin Hicks for once had been drawn out of defence. Lawrence took it on. A slide rule pass from him and a really crisp finish from the Welsh international. Perfectly tucked in the corner. So 82 minutes gone and 2 Andy Jones goals look like bringing Bournemouth 3 precious points. But that was the critical moment. Hicks beaten on the halfway line by George Lawrence. The substitute rolling it invitingly to Jones, and didn't he finish it well? So the chant is of 2-0 now. How the Bournemouth supporters love to taunt their counterparts. Reading with only 7 minutes left then, in which to rescue something from this game. Come with Bailey with a little flick through. Oh. And the referee saw something wrong there. Must have been offside. Dom just being asked by Wayne Faraday how long there is to go. Moran tries to get in around the back of the defender Morel. Again, Lawrence underneath it to good effect, and it's going to bounce over Hicks. He just used that long right leg of his to hook the ball into the crowd. Ironic that it was a slip by the Reading captain really that led to that second Bournemouth goal. Because he's had a sterling game, even though he has been booked. He's going to be in the thick of it again here now. Jones tries to torment him once more. Lawrence out this time, but George Lawrence can have another crack. Hicks with the head away. Here's Jones trying to pounce for a hat-trick goal maybe. Andy Jones! Well, everything was right about it apart from the end shot. Andy Jones, you get the feeling, is relishing this second half. He's gone into double figures for the season, but he couldn't get his 11th. But Harry Redknapp, obviously a much happier man. I say obviously, he's not smiling much at the moment, but I'm sure inside he's happier, as Francis has to clutch the ball to keep him out again. But Ian Porterfield must see promotion aspirations evaporating at the moment in front of his eyes. 2-0 down. They do have games in hand above teams above them, so let's write them off yet. It's always got to be borne in mind that goal difference can come into account at the end of the season, so a third goal would be useful. Oh, and hooked dramatically wide by Paul Wood. The scoreline stays at 2-0 despite this worthy effort from Paul Wood. He hooks it over his shoulder. That would have been a classic. It's well met, and through the middle goes Jones. Can he finish his hat-trick? Well, the extraordinary thing about Andy Jones is he's scored 2 and he's missed 2 which arguably were easier. One of them certainly. That one he might have just snatched at as he got goal side of Martin Hicks. Again, Reading were caught square though, as the ball was headed so strongly back by Bond. Jones taking it on and beat the keeper, but didn't find the net. Try through the middle. But Lawrence has won it for Bournemouth, and again Jones goes on the chase with McPherson this time. 3 vital and valuable points then for Harry Redknapp's Bournemouth. They've beaten Reading here by 2 goals to 0, and after a very shaky first half they were worthy winners in the end. So Harry Redknapp will be very pleased indeed that his half-time pep talk worked. Whatever he said certainly had a marked effect. And Andy Jones turned out to be very much the hero of the hour. He scored both the goals, which brings Bournemouth those 3 points. The final score, Bournemouth 2, Reading 0, but don't go away. Plenty of goals to come from other matches.
Welcome back to Dean Court, where Bournemouth beat Reading 2-0, and with me the scorer of those 2 goals, Andy Jones. Andy, before we talk about those goals, what did Harry Redknapp say to you at half-time? Because you were a different side.
Yeah, we were. We came out with a more positive attitude. He gives us a little bit of a rollicking, and I think it showed second half.
Well, you came out storming, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. It was nice to get the start we did in the second half, and then obviously we did a very professional job.
And that first goal from you, talk me through it.
Yeah, it was a nice goal. I think Sean O'Driscoll managed to get a nice header in. Here it goes, and it was a good header, and I've just followed it in. And luckily, keeper's just parried it just straight in front of me. That was very relieving.
And the second goal?
Yeah, the second goal, George Lawrence just slipped the ball into me, and luckily I've managed to make half a yard and tucked it away in the corner.
Obviously a good run for you at the moment. I think 5 goals in the last 8 games.
Yeah, I'm starting to find my feet again a little bit, getting a little bit sharper and a bit more confidence again. And the team's playing a lot better, so everything's going all right.
Talking about getting sharper, you actually could have had a hat-trick or even 4 goals. There was a very near miss after your first goal, wasn't there?
Yeah, I should have done better with it, really. The keeper and the lad have had a bit of a misunderstanding. I managed to get my toe to it, and instead of hitting it on the volley, I've tried to half volley it. Unfortunately, I managed to hit the post with it. There we go. Keeper made a good dive, though.
Even so, the result is all important tonight, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
And obviously looking good for the promotion playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, we're in there at the moment, but it's so very tight at the top. You've got to keep a nice run going together. Hopefully, you know, win a few away games and then keep the home form going. Good mood in the dressing room tonight? Yeah, very good. Everybody's happy. We've got a couple of days off. I think a few might be going to the horse racing and that.
Andy Jones, thanks very much. That win for Southend puts them 3 points clear of Grimsby, who won tonight, and 4 points ahead of Bolton, who lost 4-0 at Mansfield. Bournemouth are 6th, while Reading cling on in 11th place.
Southend took the lead through Brett Angel, his 25th goal of the season. But a Bournemouth free kick brought the equaliser before half-time, Luther Blissett with his 18th goal. In the second half, Bournemouth went ahead with a bizarre goal. A cross from Blissett and defender Spencer Pryor headed into his own net in spectacular style. Bournemouth sealed their victory 18 minutes from the end when Southend failed to clear a corner. Alex Watson was on hand to hook the ball into the net for his second goal for the club. Bournemouth 3, Southend 1.
Bournemouth strengthened their promotion hopes in the 3rd division when Richard Cook scored the only goal to defeat 3rd placed Bolton. And tomorrow 7th placed Cambridge visit Dean Court for another vital game. Bournemouth's hopes of a quick return to Division 2 suffered a setback when they lost at home to rivals Cambridge United. The only goal was scored by Lee Philpott near the end. But manager Harry Redknapp still believes Bournemouth can go up.
5 games to go, and we go to Crewe on Saturday. We've got to win at Crewe on Saturday. Got to beat Huddersfield here, got to beat Preston here. Got to win some games and just keep going. Been playing ever so well lately, working hard. Players have been totally committed. I couldn't ask for more effort from the players and what they've been given, so if they continue to do it, we'll be okay.
It kept Bournemouth on course for the promotion playoffs, his first coming just before half-time. Blissett's second, his 20th of the season, gave Bournemouth 3 valuable points and keeps them in 8th place. Bournemouth's promotion playoff hopes are alive again following their win against 3rd division rivals Huddersfield. Alec Watson with the Cherries first. Luther Blissett made it 2-0 in the 36th minute. Fine skill from him. Huddersfield pulled one back with a Kieran O'Regan penalty 4 minutes later. But Bournemouth went further ahead just before half-time. Kevin Bond's header crossed the line before it was cleared. Final score, Bournemouth 3, Huddersfield 1.
Needing a win to stand a chance of the playoffs, Bournemouth made the perfect start. Paul Morrell gave them the lead, the ideal opener for Harry Redknapp's team. But Shrewsbury staged a terrific fight back. Mick Heathcote, with 2 headers in quick succession, giving John Bond's team the lead. Before Nigel Lynn eventually hit a third goal for Shrewsbury. That, along with Bury's win at Tranmere, meant another year in the third division for the Cherries. Shrewsbury 3, Bournemouth 1.
Bournemouth, unbeaten in their previous 7 matches, survived an early scare, Gillingham's Mark O'Connor being denied a goal against his former club by Jerry Payton's splendid save. The opening goal went to Bournemouth after 11 minutes. Sean Teal's spectacular shot giving the centre-half his 3rd goal of the season. Bournemouth made it 2-0 early in the second half. Their new striker Andy Jones squeezing the shot inside goalkeeper Harvey Lynn's near post. Gillingham hit back with a goal moments later. David Crown the scorer. Then Crown nearly scored again, the former Portsmouth and Reading forward shooting just wide. But Bournemouth held on, defending anxiously at times. Bournemouth 2, Gillingham 1.
And here are Bournemouth and Aldershot's rewards for going.
Confidence and optimism are back in fashion at AFC Bournemouth. Harry Redknapp's team have charged up the league table over recent weeks. And they're in no mood to let Hayes from the Vauxhall Premier Division prevent them having a good cup run. In the first round, Bournemouth beat Gillingham by 2-1. It's difficult to believe that Bournemouth struggled at the start of the season. Harry was out of action, recovering from serious injuries he suffered in a road accident in Italy during the World Cup. But in mid-October, he was back, and since then, Bournemouth haven't lost.
We were fortunate. I came back at a time that coincided with 2 or 3 very important players for us getting fit as well. So I certainly wouldn't want to take all the credit for the good run we've had. I think that, as I say, people like Jerry Payton got fit again. Sean Brooks came back into the side, and we've had more of a settled team since I've been back. So that's where we were very fortunate.
Despite limited finances, Harry's knack of pulling off value-for-money deals have brought 2 high-class players to Dean Court, Andy Jones and Wayne Faraday.
Well, Andy Jones looks like he's going to score goals and striking up a good partnership with Luther. And Wayne Faraday, I think, will give us the pace that we've been missing.
By this time on Saturday, Bournemouth should have beaten Hayes, but Harry is cautious. Hayes did beat Cardiff City in the first round.
On any given day, anybody can beat anybody. It's been proved a million times in every kind of sport. And as I say, we've pulled off upsets here. I remember beating Man United 7 or 8 years ago with a team that was a bunch of free transfer players, and they came down with a team that were cup holders and full of international players, and we beat them 2-0 and beat them comfortably. So Hayes, on the day, they'll raise their game and they'll run until they drop, and they'll put us under all kinds of pressure and give everything they've got. But our attitude's got to be right, and if it is right on the day, then our superior skill should carry us through.
If Bournemouth do get through, the fans would love a third-round match against Liverpool, Arsenal, or even Manchester United.
League, Bournemouth, managed of course by Harry Redknapp, once a West Ham star, who had a most traumatic trip to the World Cup in Italy this year, but who's now very much back in business.
On the south coast, Bournemouth's FA Cup preparations began in earnest on Wednesday. While the Hayes part-timers were putting in a hard day's graft, the Bournemouth players decided they wanted a golf day on the Isle of Purbeck. Bournemouth team manager Harry Redknapp isn't the sort to rock the boat. Nowadays, Harry spends his time worrying less about the title race. He's just glad he's in the human race. Harry lives life to the full. Football's still important to him, but he keeps things in proportion. Football management is precarious, but there are other things in life.
Not bad, matey, not bad.
The reason the summer was so unhappy for the Redknapp family was having watched Italy beat Ireland in a quarter-final of the World Cup. On his way back to his hotel, Harry was involved in a serious car accident. While the Italians celebrated the victory in the streets, Harry was pulled from the wreckage of a smash that nearly cost him his life. Harry survived, but his best friend didn't. Bones were broken, but not his sense of humour. As he started to recover in hospital, his first quote was that he was doubtful for Saturday.
Hang on. What was his name? The $6 million man.
Your life's going along nice and smooth with no problems, and then one day things are going well, and the next day. But I was very, very lucky, and unfortunately Brian Tyler, who was a managing director at the football club, was very closest friend. he wasn't so lucky and he lost his life. So I realised just how lucky I am to still be here. And when I must be honest, when I laid in hospital in Italy, I used to dream about coming out to play golf at the Isle of Purbeck, so to be out here is lovely for me.
He only returned to work in mid-October, and since then, before today's tie, Bournemouth are unbeaten. He wants his team to play exciting football, a philosophy he learned during 9 years under Ron Greenwood at West Ham.
And Redknapp, 3-0.
And to help him achieve his aims at Bournemouth, he has a chip off the old block in his side. Son Jamie is good in midfield and good on the greens.
Oh, hello.
But before today's tie at Dean Court, everyone was wondering whether Harry Redknapp would get the right line on Hayes.
Where the fuck played that? In and out, man.
Well, Harry Redknapp will have been given a boost today by the surprise news that Kevin Bond has declared himself fit to play. It was thought that Achilles tendon problems would keep him out. But that's countered by the loss of Wayne Faraday, Bournemouth's new signing from Newcastle United. He made his debut last week, but subsequently picked up a foot injury. Leading scorer this season, who else but Luther Blissett, 11 goals so far. As for Hayes, there are no £1 million players, no star names in their lineup. What we have here are a bunch of non-league battlers who brought the club as far as it's ever been in the FA Cup. Paul Clark, who wears number 7, scored the goal that knocked out Cardiff City in the first round replay. Few flakes of snow drifting in the air at Dean Court as Bournemouth get us underway there in the red and black stripes, playing from left to right. The ball played through from Chris Dixon, the first attack from Hayes. Known by the nickname of the Missioners, hoping today that it won't be Mission Impossible. Gary Keane, it's a great ball too, and they're pouring men forward now. What sort of cross can we get? First corner of the game goes to Hayes. Beautiful ball from Gary Keane, 40 yards left to right. Signed this season for a club record fee from Hendon. Gary Keane, who wears 10 and will take the corner, having created the situation that produced it. Here he is to cross again. Onto the left foot, good shot! Well, that will tell Bournemouth that this is not going to be a pushover. Very good left foot from Gary Keane. They're certainly tight on Blissett. Given away, and Bournemouth can't afford to do that in their own third of the field. Turn was good, shot was too high. Colin Day, the right back, was a goal scorer last Saturday in the league game against Kingstonian, which Hayes won. Here's Keane breaking down the left and back onto his right foot, and he can use it. It's a genuinely two-footed player, Gary Keane. That one just rising too much. Bournemouth have been doing very well since Harry Redknapp came back to take charge. 5 wins and 5 draws. Bond. Blissett. Brooks, back to him again. Shot wasn't good enough. Certainly wasn't as good as the build-up. Chance for the volley was too high. It was well struck. Well, there was a certain amount of inquest going on in the Bournemouth defence because there was a gap there in the middle and the ball just sat up beautifully for the left foot volley. It beat the crossbar. Morrell set Brooks away. Jones forced to play it back. Redknapp. Bond into the middle. Good turn. It's Matthew Holmes. Header by Teal. Dixon has it taken off his toe by O'Driscoll. Miller. Holmes. Keeper seemed to see that late. Holmes had a sight of goal, swung the left foot. The ball was always just drifting wide. But it is now in these closing stages when tired legs can sometimes also mean tired minds. Clark, and then Walton. Walton again. Good cross and a good catch by Payton. Walton had time to steady himself there, but he produced a very good cross on the run. Now Lawrence away down the right touchline for Bournemouth. Blissett. As good a move as we've seen from Bournemouth. Luther Blissett launching himself at the cross from George Lawrence, made contact, but the ball just outside the post. "14 minutes to go, and you can't help feeling they're going to be a testing 14 minutes for Hayes if they're not to undo all the good work they've done so far. Bournemouth beginning to assume the dominant role in this tie. The substitution has given them a little bit of fresh impetus. Hayes beginning to tire. Lawrence making the break out of the pack. Blissett might just have hit the post, but Hyde wasn't taking any chances. Miller. Bond. Lawrence lost it under his studs. Keane. Lawrence for Bournemouth. Redknapp. Lawrence takes over. Blissett. Lawrence has gone into the middle. This is Blissett. O'Driscoll. Oh, point blank from Hyde. Well, the ball was dropped onto O'Driscoll's head. It was Blissett's cross. Found O'Driscoll, and he was only a couple of feet from the keeper, first with his hand and then with his leg, and Paul Hyde has rescued Hayes again. Bond retrieves. Brooks. Jones now. Blissett, can he winkle it out? And in it goes. Scored by Sean Brooks. 2 minutes left on the watch, and Sean Brooks breaks the deadlock. So much good defending done by Hayes, but eventually they allowed Luther Blissett to winkle one out, and when he laid it back, Sean Brooks tucked it into the corner. 1-0. May just spur them to one last surge of effort, but there's so little time. Here's Keane.